whenever me and Babe get into it, I say, "What did you say?"
So you didn't talk to the head bit. No, but you know what?
I need to make sure I heard what I heard.
Right.
So
now, let me just
that I don't interpret, because the first one I interpreted it and I'm ready for the madness in it.
Before you, in a guy's world, right? Like I've been in so many situations where like you say something and the guy's like, "Hold on, wait. What you say?" Now that's before you get clocked in your mouth. That's before you get punched right in the face.
No.
Like that point, like man will go, "What did you say?" And you see the fist drops. That's the safety catch come off the gun. Now the words that you say next are crucial. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Couple School Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by the lady of self-love herself, Charmaine Lawrence.
Hello, guys.
It's the last episode in the series.
Episode 10. Episode 10. We're ready.
Episode 10, Series 3, last episode in the series.
It's been a blast. It's been a blast. I can't wait to do the live. The last live is going to be great.
Yeah, it will be. It will be.
Make sure you guys come on, Tuesday.
I mean, in particularly for this particular subject here, because I think what we're going to lead off with, what we're going to kick off with, it's been spoken about in a few podcasts that I've seen internationally. It's been the subject of a conversation that I've had with many men over the years and women over the years. And I think it's a real, I'm going to use the word triggering because I want it to be a trigger. I want it to be something that sparks people to take action, because I think it's a subject that's massively important, talked about, but underrated in its importance. And it's quite simply, why don't men talk in relationships?
Okay. Give us more detail. Talk as in talking about what? Just generally?
No, I think men are very good at talking about logistical things in relationships, because that's, I think, where us as men, that's where our strengths lie. Our heads are very logical thinkers, so natural thinkers, so therefore thinking about logical ways out of problems, 100% we're there, and it's expected of us in order to do so. So that part of the conversation is completely free and live. What I'm talking about is all the vulnerable stuff. All the stuff where you've got both hurt that maybe have been accumulated within the relationship that you've got, and you've got accrued hurt that's happened from relationships of past and life of past.
Yeah.
And feeling safe and secure enough within your relationship to be able to discuss and release that without losing your footing or space in your relationship.
You're right. It's a topic that a lot of people are talking about at the moment. And I think it's important that we talk about it. I think personally, I don't think boys are encouraged to talk about their emotions from very young. And so I think I think people say, oh, men don't experience these emotions. They do experience these emotions, but they don't articulate it because it's not something they've ever really explored. So they feel it, and I just don't think they know how to address it in that way. And also, we've got that whole thing of, it's a bit feminine for you to be talking about your emotions or to be vulnerable in that state. So I think we've still got this whole ego and pride that sticks in the way, but they're there because I don't think men have been encouraged to have that type of dialogue. And a lot of the men I've spoken to that were raised with dads in the house, even when raised with dads in the house, there wasn't really a dialogue about how they feel, and it was kind of dad talked at them. You need to do this. Come and do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas actually, I think mums generally have sit-down conversations with their daughters, and I don't think they do with boys. And I think as men grow up, I don't think they know how to articulate it. I think they feel it. I just don't think they know how to articulate it.
Oh, men definitely feel it. I mean, humans are humans. We experience the whole spectrum of feelings and emotions. But I think you're right. It's a matter of what I think society allows us or gives us permission to explore. And I think for guys, we know of the range of emotions that you could possibly have. Anger we're allowed to experience because that's shown as to do with the sign of strength and all the rest of it, aggression, testosterone, being manly and all the rest of it. But everything else that falls off of that is sort of pushed to the side. And you're right, it's not really discussed. To the point where it's a shame, really.
Yeah.
Because as you go through these things, men experience disappointment, we experience rejection, we experience pain from loss of someone, from someone dying, or the loss of the experience of someone no longer being there.
Yeah.
You do experience that. We play games with ourselves, I suppose, into saying, right, well, no, we don't, and we can just move on from one to the next. But that's why you take a look at it, when you look at the term midlife crisis, it's one of the reasons why it's not really associated with women, it's associated with men. And the reason being, because by the time we get to a point where we are at the midlife point in our life, everything that's not been explored and dealt with or talked about or what have you, it just becomes this fountain of emotion that just overflows, and then everything just becomes discombobulated and falls apart.
Yeah.
I remember with my dad dying when I was like 8, I didn't really even start dealing with that until I was like 30.
Yeah.
5 actually, thereabouts. Where I actually went to his grave for the first time and started lifting the lid on that. It was like that. Remember that old cartoon? You go, don't open that trap door because there's something down there.
Yeah.
Literally, that's how it was for me. Like I couldn't. I'd watch movies like Lion King and leave me in tears. I'd watch other movies where people were losing people, and it would leave me in a state of like array, because it just didn't. There's so much bottled up that's not been dealt with. It was just impossible, And I think when it comes to your relationship, the people that you choose to be with, I watched the video today with someone that said, if you're gonna get married, choose to be with someone that's kind. Above all else, he goes, looks fade, but choose someone that's kind. And what I got from that was, and it backs up the statement that I've always lived by when it comes to your relationships. Is your relationships are supposed to be your safe place.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be the place where you can be vulnerable, and you can let your vulnerabilities out, and the person that you're with doesn't judge, they help to heal. I've watched so many videos of like this whole gender wars, men against women, women against men, and this, that, and the other. And this seems to be a butt of all of it, going right, well, like the guy's less of a man if he says that he's hurting, or if he lets on that he's not coping, or this, that, and the other. And the guys have openly said, they're frightened of how their woman will see them in their position in the family if they let loose, to go, okay, well, I don't know what to do here, or I'm frightened of what's going to happen here, because then how am I supposed to take care of you? But in the same vein, that within your relationship, you don't have to always be that.
Yeah.
Sometimes she is that to help you deal with what you're going through. It's all part of a partnership.
Yeah, but I think partnership is a new thing that people are looking at. I think people are only now going, okay, this is a partnership, and we can, we all slot into different places sometimes. But I think it's incredibly important to have the conversation about the fact that girls are also not spoken to about how to deal with men either. So like, I think it took me a long time to discover that I should be saying to my partner, how do you feel? Like, are you okay? What do you need? And we're not really trained to have those conversations, because you're supposed to just know. You're supposed to just get it. You're supposed to just take the reins. If I'm having a meltdown, you're supposed to take care of me. So no one's really said, well, if he's having a meltdown, or he may have a meltdown. It's just it's not even something that is taught that you may even have. That doesn't happen. Do you get what I mean? So I think we're all kind of just not aware of how to handle it as men and how to handle it as women. And I think it's a new, well, not new, but people are only just talking about it now, I think, in the last maybe 5 years.
I think you're right. I think the awareness of it and how the seriousness of it is really starting to come to the surface now. I think it's always been there, and I think it's some of the reasons why some relationships break down. I think it's why a lot of men suffer from mental health issues, because they're trying to deal with things that were small worries that have snowballed into something catastrophic all by themselves, because they don't feel that they're in a comfortable enough space. And ironically, some of them are. It's just that they've not been taught to look for that space.
Yeah.
To be able to recognize it and acknowledge it when it's actually blatantly there in front of you. for you to be able to release that and say to your partner, actually, you know what, I'm not okay.
Yeah.
It's when I talk about the origins of mine and Karen's relationship, Karen met me at the possible lowest point I could ever have been. I just got to a point where I'd come to the realization that I had to walk away from my business. I thought I was an absolute failure. I was in the gutter, I was on the floor, and I was ready to just leave it. But she created a space that I could heal.
Yeah. How long do you think it took you, though, to, even though she created that space, how long do you think it took you to trust that space?
This is where I say I'm the anomaly, in the sense of that, because I've been...
Or maybe because you knew her for a while before.
I knew her for a while before, but also as much as I maybe at that point didn't like myself very much, but I knew myself very well.
Yeah.
And I knew from having to try and deal with the emotions of my dad and other people that I'd lost in the past and this and the other, and relationships that have fallen apart. And I got to that point in my life where I was just like, your usual ways of dealing with things aren't working.
Yeah.
So you maybe need to start finding different people to speak to in order to understand what's going on and how you were doing it. Because as I said, my emotions were spilling out all over the place. And I was using all sorts of different methods of control that are all dysfunctional to humans. There's too much alcohol, this and the other. So it got to that point where I was like, it was a special alignment of events. Like, I need to try something different. She came about, she provided this environment. She was like, okay, I ain't gonna look down on you.
Yeah.
And I think she was the first woman ever to go to me and go, are you okay?
Yeah.
And in that sentence there, I suppose, in her tone, I got the inference to go, okay, it's going to be okay to say I'm not.
Yeah.
And with that became unleashed a complete...
Yeah. I do think that basically men are struggling because they're being told, because we're talking about it more, they're being told they can, or they should be able to say things. They should be able to say how they feel. They should be vulnerable. They should be able to cry. They should be able to do all these things. But I just don't think they believe that they can be safe. And I just don't think it is safe, actually, if I'm honest. If I'm honest, the way we see how society plays men off against women and people are falling for it, I don't think it's a safe place right now for men. Like, that's my honest truth. I don't think it's very safe for men to be able to feel vulnerable. And so being in a relationship with someone and having to learn how to be vulnerable in that space, even if that space is safe, how can you trust that space when your experience is telling you that this situation is not safe? And so it's a whole process, that you have to go through. Like, I don't know. I just don't think it is a safe space for men right now.
I don't think it is either, but I think it can be.
It definitely can be.
And I think...
But you have to learn how to do... They have to learn how to do that. And also trust when you're in that safe... When you have somewhere that's a safe space and it looks like a safe space, then it probably is a safe space. So all the other experiences that have told you, nah, this is not it, is probably just negative experiences from the past. Yeah.
It's a fears. I mean, I think the vast majority of men, if they're in committed relationships where the woman is fully committed to you, you are in a space that is potentially safe.
Yeah.
And I use the word potentially quite deliberately because, as you've just said, she doesn't know what you require yet. You're going to have to teach her and she's going to have to teach you. She's going to have to teach you how to dig into your emotions, and you're going to have to trust her guidance. And that's another thing that men have got to learn to understand, is that we don't know the answer when it comes to this realm. It's uncharted territory for us. As I said before, when it comes to anger, we know that very well. We know the many moods of Moses, so how to be angry and how to express it and how to look like we're more angry than we actually are. We know how to do that because that's where we've been licensed to thrill, as opposed to all of the other spectrum here now. You're going to have to let her be your guide. And she's going to have to learn how to take the lead in that respect. Yeah. And both of you are going to have to give each other enough space to fall down. And what I mean by that is it's not going to be a smooth, okay, right, well, it's a safe space. It's a safe space. Oh, yeah, well, tell me about yourself. Tell me what's going on, darling. And you let loose and she automatically knows what to do. Like, she's going to go, okay, it's a safe space. You're going to go, okay, well, what about this then? She's going to go, whoa, don't know how to handle that bit. Both of you are going to have to learn and evolve around each other to incorporate this into your relationship, where you go, okay, cool. It's now a secure, safe space where we both understand how to handle each other and how to read each other. You know, when we take a look at these old guys that have got to relationships where they've been together 50, 60 years, and you listen to them talk, this is one of the biggest hurdles that they've all had to overcome.
Yeah.
Now, don't forget, a lot of these guys and girls were in relationships where, you know, men went out to war. Now, these guys come back with serious trauma. Like, they've seen people been blown up themselves. They had to learn how to talk with their significant other, and their significant other had to learn how to listen and then how to hear.
Yeah.
And I put those in two different degrees because they're in two different categories for me. Just listening to someone is just someone letting loose. Actually hearing requires you to understand. And that's the level that those couple goals relationships have hit, where they've given each other enough space and enough patience to fall and get back up and not lose what they've got.
Yeah.
And then and I think that's the biggest trick of the trade for modern day relationships, because modern day relationships are taught maintain your options, whereas the relationships that everyone's aspiring to be is all about maintaining your chosen option.
Yeah.
You know, as in your chosen person, maintain and sustain. Whereas, you know, in this day and age, everyone's just talking about how the grass is green and let me choose this. You're not keeping up to scratch. Let me find someone else. You're not a man enough. You're not woman enough. Like, all of that. It doesn't help humans deal with what humans have got to deal with.
Yeah.
And irrespective of whether you're male or female, we are all experiencing the same thing in different ways.
Yeah.
Of perspective to us. You know, your woman might experience disappointment in a particular way that you don't look at it and go, that's nothing.
Yeah.
Then the next day you're experiencing disappointment, but she doesn't understand that disappointment because it's not the same value. She doesn't operate in the same value systems as hers. It doesn't mean that your disappointment is any less important than hers, or hers is any more important than yours at all. It's just understanding the different spectrums.
The languages. We speak different languages. Like, I think I say this all the time, and I was having a conversation with a girl on my Instagram, and I was saying to her, like, we just speak different languages. What you're hearing is how you've interpreted what's been said. It's not what was said. So, like, sometimes just stop and, like, think about, take away the wall of this is offending me, because it's not about you. Like, that person is telling you what it is that they're saying and how they're feeling, and just focus on what they're feeling. And I think that's the thing with humans, just generally, especially when you're dealing with man against woman or partner against partner. Everyone's like it's me versus you, and it's not.
We're living the same life, doing the same thing in the same household, but we're against each other. What happened to teams? Like,
that's what it is. You're a team. We're fighting the same team. So if you're feeling something, you need to tell me how you're feeling. And also, I think women are natural nurturers. Like,
100%.
Natural nurturers. We're natural givers. We're natural, just going to do whatever we need to do to make sure that you feel safe. And if a woman is not doing that, that might be because of her past traumas, her past experiences. But naturally, women do instantly provide that safe space in a long-term relationship where she feels safe and secure. Then that's just a natural thing that happens. If it's not happening, there's other things that may come to play. Do you get what I mean? Like, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
But I do think that men do need the space to be able to be vulnerable or to show emotion. Have you seen those wedding videos where, like, they're getting married and the wife walks in, the husband starts crying, and then you read the comments. The comments are like
violent. They're violent. Is the only word for it.
Literally, they come, and I'm just like, what is? I don't understand. I don't think I've ever been someone that's been like, oh, he's crying, he's a wimp. I don't think I've ever been that person. Actually, I'm lying.
You're lying.
Actually, I'm lying. There was one, I don't know, we might be able to cut to it at the end here, but there was a video of a man that got stood up on a date, and he said, I just want to find my person, and the person stood me up, and he started crying, like he was crying to camera.
I don't understand that. I'm sorry, I don't know. That's not even the same kettle of fish.
It's not the same kettle of fish, but at that point, I thought, why are you crying? Like, but whatever.
There are some guys that are built more emotional than others.
Yeah.
And there are different triggers for different people. So I've seen the videos from and going through
I just
a
don't
wedding,
get it.
a wedding myself. Like I didn't cry, but I can understand
You had a lump in your
how.
throat. It was dry, innit?
No, you know what? And put it over. Karen's dress, right? Like before we get a sideline, so Karen's dress grabbed her tits in such a way that all I was thinking, how do I get the dress off? Like I'm not gonna lie, when she walked up the thing, she was glowing. Don't get me wrong, she was absolutely stunning on the day. But when she got to the thing, I'm like, this audience needs to disappear. I've got things that I need to do. This dress is about to get mashed up. Like that's what went through my head. But excuse that side of it, I can understand in that moment how that emotion can grab hold of you because you're now stood. Your person is you haven't seen them for a period of time. They're dressed up in something that you've never seen them in before, in a way that you've never seen them before. And what it all symbolizes, you've got all your people there, your mum's there, her mum's there, this and that. So I get how the emotion can bubble up and can surface to that kind of level. I completely get that. So there's no disrespect from me to anyone.
No, I don't think so
at all. And I know what you're saying because I've seen the comments on some of the videos.
Comments
and
are horrendous.
And I'm like, wow. But the funny thing is, most of the comments when you click on those people's, they're single.
Of course.
You know, so it's single people mouthing their mouth. They're running their mouth off about something that they don't understand.
But then they get into a relationship and they'll be like, if you don't cry when I walk down the aisle,
it flips.
Like,
you know, so like. And this is what I mean. Most people speak through their fears. Like their fears are, you're not going to want me as much as this person on when it comes to my day.
Yeah.
So that's what their comment is spouted at. I think I sent you a clip earlier on with a woman and her husband, and they were being interviewed, and she was talking about they were 6 months or 8 months in, or eight, can't remember, like very short time into the relationship. She's got children, he's got children, you know? And I'm trying to get this right. So she had boys, he had a daughter, and he was talking to her in the car while his daughter was in the car, and he was effing and blinding and this and the other.
Just normal conversation. He wasn't angry. Just normal.
He wasn't effing. But to her, she had to say, she goes like, you're talking like that with your daughter in the car, and he went off on one.
Because he went off on one because she said, when you meet my son, I don't want you to, like, you can't
use
like
that language. So
he
went off on that point. And she describes, he went off on it. He went to 10. So he went, and she very calmly, and I have to give her credit to that point. And the thing is, you can see it on it, because they're both of them on the thing. So when as she's talking, it's flashing back to him for his reaction. And he did something at that point in time when she started to deliver, she was like, okay. And he goes, okay, you're going to do that. And you saw his face humble and anything. He sort of shifted in his chair like, yeah, this is the uncomfortable part of the story for me, you know. And she quite simply said to him, okay, cool, that's enough for me, and I'm gonna leave you there. So you have a good night.
Yeah.
I'm out. And to her, the relationship was done.
Yeah.
What I give him credit for,
pure credit,
100% credit for, because he clocked it in that moment.
Straight away. In
that moment, he clocked his mistake and the mistake of most people. And so he was just like, wait. That's not, I understand what you said, but I didn't hear it like that. What I heard was, you're a bad dad, you're a crap dad, you're not connected with your kids, and you're not being that in front of and you're not good enough for my son. And you're not good enough for my son. No? But that's not what she said. What she did was she set a boundary that's to do with how she parents.
Yeah.
It wasn't a critique on his. She commented on how she parents and the standard that she wants around her son. Now it's exclusive to her son. It wasn't about him and his daughter. It wasn't a critique on him and his daughter. She was commenting on how she wanted him to behave because she wanted him to be part of her world, and therefore how he needs to adapt in order to be in front of her sons.
Yeah.
He heard it through all of his fears. And the reason why the clip struck me, and it struck cold, because I'm like, this is the vast majority of conversations and disagreements and misunderstandings throughout relationships.
Definitely.
Because we're so busy hearing things through our pain that we discount our future. Like, you're sat in front of, and the thing is, they're still together now. So you're sat in front of what is supposed to be your person.
Yeah.
But because you're hearing what they've said through what you've already experienced, you've now lost them. You've now discounted them. You've now checked yourself out of that situation because you haven't heard it accurately. The way he spins that around and cuts it quick.
An art.
Wicked.
For me, that shows that in that moment he knew he did wrong. He was able to, because that's a vulnerability as well, to go,
Massive.
oh, I was wrong. I don't want to lose this person. I was actually wrong. Like, it was the way I interpreted that was based on my insecurities, and for him to basically be able to go, okay, whoa. I was wrong here.
Thing is, wait for a second. He said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I highlight that. He said, I'm sorry in the second set. He said, after he said, wait. He said, I'm sorry. Like, wait. As in, she was about to put the phone down. Like, she's like, we're done here. Like, and he said, wait. I'm sorry. That's what caught her attention.
Yeah.
Because he was so quick to apologize. And the amount of conversations I've overheard with men and then also women about men, you know, and this whole apology rate. Guys don't like to apologize. Why? If you're in the wrong, be the first to say I'm in the wrong and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because it sets the tone. And we talk about tone of conversations all the time. It sets the tone for that conversation. She was already understood. She'd already made the decision. Like, I'm out. I'm done. Like, this is too young for me to care that much.
Yeah.
I understand this. Exit is easy right about now. Like, so I'm going to leave you to do you over there, how you do you. And I'm going to go over that way.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do me because this is too young. So, but in that second, he clocked it. And the fact that she's still there is because he said, I'm sorry. It was the first proper sentence that came out of his mouth after, wait.
Yeah.
Don't hang up. I'm sorry. Then the explanation. Right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes when people get into situations or relationships, you're so busy to give the explanation that you forget to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like when you overreact to something, don't get me wrong, it might be valid because you've got a valid reason sat behind you. But let's not discount the disrespect that you've given to the person in your announcement of what you've gone through. The apology is 100% essential. You know, so the fact that he led I'm sorry allowed him the audience to therefore then explain. I think a lot of people that I've spoken to certainly have tried to get the audience without qualifying that the audience is required, without qualifying their space in that audience, by simply saying, you know what, I was wrong for that bit, so I was wrong for my explosion.
Yeah.
I was wrong for my exclamation, but this is why.
Yeah.
But this is why I can't precede the apology.
Yeah.
Or just come first.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it was a very beautiful moment. And I say beautiful purposely. It was a beautiful moment of seeing someone be accountable. But you know, the problem is as well, like, and it's not necessarily a problem, but the thing is as well, people don't always notice that. Do you get what I mean? They don't always notice that they're responding to what they heard, which was completely different. Their perception of what they heard. They don't always notice that, and I think that's where we need to, like, sometimes we talked on a couple podcasts back about what the hard work is. Like, that is part of the work. It's understanding that your reaction is, it's not about your reaction. Everyone knows you're reacting to the situation, but that reaction can then impact the person. So then it's like, it's a vicious circle. So if you just take a step back and say, look, cool, this is what I heard. Like, sometimes it's just about saying, wait a second, what did you say? Because I always do that. Yeah. Like, whenever me and Babe get into it, I say, what did you say?
So you didn't talk to the head bit. No, but you know what?
I need to make sure I heard what I heard.
Right.
So
now,
like,
let me just,
so that I don't interpret, because the first one I interpreted it and I'm ready for the madness in it.
Before you, like, in a guy's world, right? Like, I've been in so many situations where, like, you say something and the guy's like, hold on a minute, wait. What you say? Now that's before you get clocked in your mouth. That's before you get punched right in the face.
No.
Like that point, like man will go, what did you say? And you see the fist drops. That's the safety catch come off the gun. Now the words that you say next are crucial about there.
But it's kind of like, okay, I'm pretty self-aware, and I know that I'm a crazy person at times, right? I can be crazy. So I always... Guys, I'm self-aware, right? So I always double check that you know what you're saying to me.
That's not, but are you sure? Are you sure you want this smoke? Are you sure?
No,
are you sure? You best be sure. Yeah.
It's not that. No. I just need to know that I'm hearing what you're saying, because the first time I hear a madness in it. So the second time I need to say it again so I can interpret it correctly. Because the first one, I know I'm not going to interpret it correctly. I'm coming straight for you. So I'll ask you.
Are you sure?
What did
you say? Well, say it again if you're bad. Say it again if you're bad. That's all like for me, if that was me and you, I'm like, that's all I'm hearing. Say it again if you're bad.
That's what you heard.
Say it again if you're bad. And but it's my own check-in mechanism. So that I'm not reacting to it in the same way. Like someone goes, yeah, say it again. I'm like, okay, do I want this to go here? Which way do I want this conversation to go?
I know that I have to take a double take in it. So when someone says something to me, I'll be like, okay, what I actually interpret from my fears or my insecurities, and then I'll be like, okay, what did you say? So I need you to say it again so that I don't hear it from that space, kind of thing. And if you're saying it again, and I'm then going to say, wait a second, so what you're saying is boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, see, that's the point of no return.
So it's kind of like I repeat back to you what I'm hearing, isn't it? Then that's the point where you go, no, that's not what I said. And I go, oh, okay. You didn't explain yourself well. Do you get what I mean? So, but I think the dialogue, the language, I see it, I always say it's a language barrier. Like we all have language barriers. You have to talk to people as though you don't quite understand their language very well, because we're all interpreting things differently.
I say to people this: if you want to be heard, transmit in the frequency of the person hears, not in the way that you speak.
But if they don't know their frequency,
if they don't know your frequency, then you have to be hyper aware that you may be misinterpreted.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Which is why I don't like. This is why I don't have disagreements by text message. So if anyone that knows me, if the conversation starts to go a little bit west by text, you'll immediately see Andrew Grossick calling on your phone, because I don't want to. I know.
I come across terrible on text.
It's not that I come across terrible on text. My line of thinking when it comes to anything communicative wise, is the more intense the conversation, the more direct I want to get through to you. So I'm very clear that my words sometimes in text messages, if you've annoyed me, become very, very, very like that. Like I'm very aware of that. Like, and it's not that I can't help it. I don't want to, because I like to mean what I say. Yeah. But that's why particularly if it's someone I care about, especially Karen, like I get on the phone and I'm like, no, it's like we got to talk so you can hear the difference in tone. And that way you get the full juice of everything, so you can get a full understanding of things. If we're having a conversation that's going along the lines of where it might be a point of irritation or question, like I don't want you misinterpreting my severity in the text messages by how direct I've now become. So therefore I switch it to a phone call. So it's about understanding your audience, but also understanding yourself and going, okay, cool. What point of me or what part of me are triggers, and what's my remedy or situation dealing with it?
No,
but
definitely.
I like the way are you sure? Are you sure you want to do it? Are you sure?
No, you have to be sure. You have to be sure. It's anyone as well. It's anyone. Even at work, a manager says something, I'm like, sorry, could you repeat? Yeah. Because I need to know for me, what it is you're saying.
Especially for conversations that are important, I'm one of those people that really pays attention to every single detail that you've said. So I'll retain every single word that you've said the first time round. And then I start questioning the meaning around said so. So when you said blah, 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 did you mean this or did you mean that? Now, if I start doing that, you need to be wary that like it's either going to go peacefully or we're building up to a fight. Because I'm like, my defense is already starting to set off and set up in line with what the sequence that you're about to tell me. Because what I'm doing is I'm ascertaining, okay, well, what exactly did you mean by when you said blah, 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 and what was behind it? Yeah. Now,
I've got a question for you after.
Go on.
When you are at the point of like, so this is opposite to being vulnerable, right? So the point where you're maybe upset about something, upset about something, and you and Karen are kind of going back and forth. You're not really arguing, but you're kind of going back and forth. Do you still see that as a safe space?
Yeah, because we've trained it to be like, so
Yeah.
we don't really argue.
Yeah.
We've had what I call passionate discussions.
Yeah.
Where people are, it's slightly heated, but we're not shouting at each other.
Yeah.
You know, and in that situation, I think we have a almost like unsaid rule is that we put it out there, then leave it there, and then come back to it at a certain point. So both parties will air their grievances. So let's say, for argument's sake, we're debating over something to do with money or pictures up on the wall. She's looking over me. Debating on something to do with money or how something's to be spent or what have you. So if that conversation is coming up and it's getting to a point where it's starting to get uncomfortable, right, or could possibly get out of bounds, I will say how I'm feeling. She will say how she's feeling. And it's down to the person that's at the point where they're about to lose it to manage it. Yeah. So if I'm the one that's about to get to a point where I'm about to start getting to the point where I'm just like, you know what, not necessarily I don't care how you feel, but right now, how I feel is more important, I'll cut it. So I'll go sit downstairs and I'll chill out and this and the other. And then we come back and we have that further conversation when everybody's calmer to be able to move it forward. Everything in our world is focused on solution, not disagreement. We understand and accept that the disagreements happen. We're two individuals trying to live together. You know, so we're always going to see eye to eye. But our conversations are always filled with the motivation of how do we resolve.
Yeah, I ask that because I find that sometimes men are not only don't feel that it's a safe space in moments of vulnerability, but also in moments where they really want to express frustration or anger and whatever, but they don't kind of think they hold it back, and then they might go for drinking or whatever the case may be to let that frustration out because they still don't feel like they can air those grievances within the house. So I was asking you because I thought there must be people out there that don't really know how to do that.
Well,
that making sense.
It does, and it's a valid point. I think the word responsibility comes into play for me when it comes to this. You have to understand your audience. Now, if I'm displaying anger or frustration in front of my guy friends, I have a whole set of rules around that is very different to how I would display my anger and frustrations in front of Karen.
Yeah.
Because if I cross the worlds, she will not feel very safe anymore.
Yeah.
In front of my significant friends and my close ones, if I put my fist through a wall, take off a door, kick something over, or decide I'm going to display that level of anger, they ain't worried because number one, they understand it ain't about them. Number two, they know I'm not coming at them for it. And number three, they understand it because they've got the same kind of animal inside them. Right? It's common territory, so that's cool. I can't be that guy in front of Karen.
Yeah.
Ever. Because that dude there has no manners as far as she's concerned. It will make her feel vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think for guys, you need to understand the responsibility you have. It's not that you can't display your frustrations. It's not that you can't display that you're displeased. It's not that you can't display that you're unhappy, you're frustrated, and all of those horrible little demons that run around inside your head. But you have to understand your audience.
Yeah.
And when you're in front of your woman that the both of you are trying to make each other feel safe, the fact that you are feeling vulnerable, that does not negate your responsibility in that.
Yeah.
And you need to make sure that, yes, she has to accommodate it to be accommodating the guy. Okay, well, he might raise his voice and this and the other, but that doesn't mean it's at me.
Yeah.
Right? He might kick something over, it doesn't mean it's at me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she's got to be accommodating in that and relent in that respect. But you've also got to meet her halfway and go, okay, cool. I'm not going to take off the front door or punch my way through the wall or this, that, and the other. I mean, because that is not going to that's not going to signify to her safe, especially if it's your house.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's the other bit that gets missed in this. So guys misconstrue that their relationships aren't a safe place for them to be frustrated because of the environment that they're illustrating their frustrations. If you're at home, understand that's home.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's supposed to feel safe. If you're in an environment where you have children, her maternal instincts are going to kick in because your children are upstairs and you are going nuts downstairs. Like, so her reaction is a protective one over those guys upstairs going, well, you can't be like that. Like, so it's a partnership. You've got to look at it from both perspectives. Like, so in response to your original questions, like me and Karen, I think my relationship is safe enough for me to be upset, crying, mournful, forlorn, upset, whatever label you want to put on there. But how I illustrate those emotions is deliberate because my priority 101 is not to disturb her feeling of being safe around me. You know? I want her to be comfortable and safe enough to assist me in my vulnerability.
Yeah.
You know? And for that, I have a responsibility to make sure that she doesn't think I'm that volatile that getting close to me might hurt her.
Yeah. I love that answer.
We try. We try.
I love that answer.
We try. I think that brings us to the end of this episode.
Oh, no.
Before we get to the tearful end of series 3, what I will say is that for any guys out there that are experiencing any spectrum of this, whether that's be you're in a relationship that you don't feel necessarily that you can express yourself accordingly, or whether you feel that you've got more emotion than your current situation can handle, or you feel that you might be at a point where things are becoming overwhelming for you, I really urge you to go and find someone you can talk to. Obviously, I do run coaching services as well that do cover those sorts of things, but it doesn't have to be that. Sometimes it's literally just a friendly ear or someone that you can speak to and go, this doesn't count. And I say that because if I think about my friendship circle, I have a couple of friends that I know I could call up and go, I need you to meet me here and this doesn't count. And they would know exactly what that meant. And that if I needed to pick up a bin or throw something there or kick up a car or smash something, like, it doesn't count. And just to be there for me in my position of vulnerability. Also, on top of that, when it comes to your relationship side of things, I also have my relationship set up deliberately so that I can be vulnerable with her and it not compromise my position within the house, my relationship, or how she sees me. And that isn't by accident. And if there are any guys watching this that need assistance or help in doing that, either myself or Charmaine can help you do that. I know you don't really deal with guys. So feel free to drop me a DM and we can talk about how we can get you from where you are to where you need to be.
Yeah, definitely. And likewise, for any females that feel like they don't know how to support or nurture their partners in those moments of vulnerability, drop me a line. We're here.
100%. So, end of the episode, end of the season.
Oh, no.
Yeah, a good topic to end on, though, and one I think I'm hoping you guys are going to find very useful. So, don't forget to join us for the last couple school after school of the season. Come and disagree with Sharp. I'm only joking. I need to change the tone. Come and join us for a couple of after school. Join in the conversation. Tell us your stories. Tell us your opinions. Tell us your views, and everything in between. We'll be live on Instagram. Live on Instagram from 8:30 on Tuesday. Yeah. We won't be back next week Sunday at 12 o'clock, but we will be back with season 4 very, very shortly. Couple School is here to stay, and we are building towards something, and we'll allude to a little bit more about that in season 4, but we're moving, we're evolving, and we're emerging. Trust me. Don't forget to hit the infamous subscribe button down there somewhere, and also don't forget to ring the bell on your way out. But on that note, that's us out for this week. Peace.
Peace, guys.